All right, let's dive into a constitutional puzzle that, believe it or not, went completely unnoticed for almost 20 years. It's a story about how a single word, just one word, in the Constitution led to an extra person on one of the most powerful councils in the Philippines. And well, what it finally took to set the record straight.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. How many people do you think are on the council that vets every single judge in the country? We're talking everyone, all the way up to the Supreme Court.
According to the 1987 Constitution, the answer is 7. That's it. Just 7 members in a council that was carefully balanced to represent the big pillars of government and the legal world. So remember that number, 7.
But here's where it gets wild. What if I told you that from 1994 all the way to 2012, there were actually 8 people sitting at that table? How in the world did that happen? And maybe more importantly, what did it finally take to fix it?
To really crack this puzzle, first, we've got to get to know the council at the very heart of it all, the Judicial and Bar Council, or JBC for short. You see, the JBC was supposed to be a total game changer. It was created to put an end to this, quote, deplorable practice of judges having to cozy up to politicians to get appointed. Its entire reason for being is to act as a filter, a shield, to make sure appointments are based on skill and integrity, not who you know. Okay, now this timeline, this is where our mystery really kicks off. So for the first few years, everything was by the book. One rep from Congress, they'd alternate between the Senate and the House. Simple. But then look what happens in 1994. Congress starts sending 2 people who split a single vote between them. Then, fast forward to 2001, and the JBC itself decides, you know what, let's give each of them a full vote. And just like that, the 7-member council became 8. And this went on totally unchallenged until 2012, when a petition finally asked the big question, is this even constitutional? And what's absolutely amazing is that this entire decades-long debate boils down to how you interpret just a few words in the Constitution itself. Here it is, straight from the source. Article 8, Section 8. It lists out the members. You've got the Chief Justice, the Secretary of Justice, and then this little phrase right here, a representative of the Congress. That's it. The whole thing, the entire legal fight, the heart of this constitutional puzzle, it all hangs on what that simple phrase, a representative, actually means. Does A mean one, or could it mean more? So you're probably thinking, how on earth did Congress justify having 2 people at the table for so long? Well, let's break down their side of the story. Their argument really boiled down to 3 main points. First, they said it was just a plain oversight, that the folks who wrote the Constitution simply forgot to update this part when they decided to have a 2-house Congress. Second, they argued, hey, the Senate and the House are totally different. A senator can't speak for the House, and a House member can't speak for the Senate. And third, they said that forcing these 2 separate bodies to share one seat was, in their words, simply absurd. And, on the surface, those arguments sound pretty reasonable, right? So how did the Supreme Court see it when they finally had to make a call? Well, when it came to that plain oversight argument, yeah, the court wasn't buying it. They pointed out that the framers of the Constitution were incredibly careful. They updated several other sections to specifically mention how the 2 houses of Congress should work together. The fact that they didn't change the wording for this section suggests it wasn't a mistake. It was a deliberate choice. And this right here, this gets to the absolute core of the court's logic. The JBC was designed to have this perfect balance between the 3 big branches of government. It's so clear when you see it laid out. 1 rep for the judiciary, that's the Chief Justice. 1 for the executive, the Secretary of Justice. So it just makes sense. There should be only 1 for the legislative. Adding a second person from Congress would throw that whole delicate balance completely out of whack. The court even pulled out this powerful legal principle called casus omissus. It's a fancy Latin term that basically means if something's left out of a law, you have to assume it was left out on purpose. The court's job isn't to fix the Constitution or add words it thinks should be there. That would be judicial legislation, basically doing Congress's job for them. Okay, but this ruling created a huge potential problem. If the JBC setup was unconstitutional for nearly 20 years, what about all the judges and justices it nominated? Were all those appointments suddenly illegal? To prevent total chaos, the court used something called the doctrine of operative facts. In plain English, it just means that things done in good faith under a rule that's later found to be wrong can still be valid.
So long story short, every past judicial appointment was safe. Phew.
But hold on, because this wasn't a slam dunk. The decision was not unanimous. A few justices strongly disagreed, arguing that the majority was missing the bigger picture by reading the text so literally.
Justice Marvick-Leonin, in his dissent, really captured this other way of thinking perfectly. He basically said, look, we're interpreting a constitution here. Our duty is bigger than just focusing on a single word like A. Our real job is to make sure the whole system works the way the people intended it to.
And this slide really nails the two competing philosophies that were clashing here. On one side, you have the majority's strict, by-the-book approach. The words on the page are what matter. A means one, end of story. But on the other side, the dissent argued for looking at the bigger picture. They believed the court absolutely should consider that the whole two-house Congress idea came after this section was written, making it totally unworkable.
So, after all that legal back and forth, what's the bottom line? Why does this one ruling on one little word actually matter for the entire justice system?
Ultimately, the court sent a really clear three-part message. First, the text of the Constitution is king. You have to follow the words exactly as they're written. Second, the Supreme Court's job is to interpret the law, not to change it or fix it. And third, by making this decision, the court put the JBC back to its original 7-member design, protecting that crucial balance of power it was founded on.
And all of this leaves us with one last fascinating question to chew on. The court said its job isn't to fix the Constitution. So, if a part of it really is a mistake or just doesn't work anymore, whose job is it to fix it? And that's a puzzle that gets to the very heart of how a democracy is supposed to work.